Hi! Thanks for tuning in. Today's a really exciting video. It is my Q&A video. I've been collecting your questions from the giveaway video I posted about a month ago, and I have all your questions outlined here, and I am going to be going through and answering those questions. This is a much more casual video. I'm in like some more comfy clothes, and I have a drink handy if you see the little straw popping up, because I figure this might be a little long one. So if you want to take a moment to grab a drink, grab your snack, I would do that now, and I'm going to dive right into all of your questions. First and foremost, I need to announce the winner of the giveaway, and I will put your name on the screen here as well. But congratulations, Mistletoe. I'm pretty sure that's how your username is supposed to be understood. But you also submitted a really awesome question that I'll be answering later on in this video. But I basically collected all of your questions and responses, put it in a spreadsheet here. Every entry got assigned a number and got a random number generator to give me a number. So congratulations, Mistletoe, you have won the giveaway. I will be reaching out to you via Instagram, so please respond to me. If for some other reason you're having a hard time responding to me on Instagram, then you can at least leave a comment on this video. We'll figure out a way to get in touch. But I hope to do more giveaways in the future, of course. So please, please don't be too disappointed if you didn't win this one. There will be more coming. All right, so I am going to start running through these questions. Now, like I said, I put them all in an Excel spreadsheet, and then this might expose a little bit of my personality, but I couldn't help myself. I went through and I categorized all of the questions, so because there were some repeat questions as well. So I'll go through what I marked as these different categories. I think it might be easier that way for us to then work through all of these questions. There were a ton of really wonderful questions and some that were very similar, so if I don't get to yours specifically, please forgive me. That's more for the interest of time. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here for like 500 hours trying to get through every single one. So some of them have been lumped together if the question has been very similar, and then some of them I may call out if they're pretty specific or like a different topic. I'm going to start with personal questions that have been asked, so I'll start with that category just to get those out of the way. There were a number of folks who were curious what I do for a living, and I think if I haven't made that particularly apparent, YouTube is more of a hobby for me. So I work in corporate America. I am a program manager at a company, but I basically have a 9-to-5 job in corporate America. For privacy reasons, I don't feel too comfortable getting too specific, but that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do. And then Heidi Zhang asked a few more personal questions, so I will read out her question and then her answer. So Heidi Zhang asked, what's your favorite color? Do you have siblings? If so, do you guys get along? What's your absolute favorite place to shop? What is your favorite positive quote? What makes you smile? What are your hobbies? So these were a lot of questions more about me as a person. So I thought this was a great question that I wanted to answer. So what's your favorite color? From a very, very pure color standpoint, I think I have to say yellow. Every time I look at that color, it just makes me smile. It's a color that my eye definitely goes to. I mean, my nails are yellow right now. That's somewhat coincidence because I'm holding on to the last bits of summer, at least through yellow nail polish. But, well, and then, hello. But it's hard for me to pick one specific color that I really like, because a lot of times it depends on, like, there will be a nuanced shade that absolutely captivates me. But as a whole, yellow tends to be a color that I just like, will always like. In terms of clothing, in terms of what I will wear for myself, black is my favorite color to wear. That's why I wanted to make the distinction between, like, from a pure color standpoint versus from like a wardrobe or dress code standpoint. I prefer black, blues, and grays. But from a pure like a color that just makes me happy every time, yellow. I have an older brother. He's 6 years older than I am. We do get along very well. Because of the age gap growing up, we didn't have a lot of interactions. We didn't have a lot of things in common. You know, we never really went to the same school because by the time he was in middle school, I was still in elementary school. You see what I mean? Like we just never had much overlap. But as we started going to college and getting older, we've gotten a lot much closer than we ever have, and we have a wonderful relationship. So my absolute favorite place to shop is Hawaii. Hands down, has to be Hawaii. I don't know if you were looking more for like a specific brand or shop in particular, like department store or something like that, but I will have to say just Hawaii, the place. I love Hawaii because all of the stores are just located together on, I think it's called Kalakua Ave, and that's just like my favorite place on the planet to be. If I ever like feel down, I just imagine myself there. All of them are located, like all the luxury brands are pretty much located together, and my favorite Hermes boutique is the Waikiki boutique, and it's on that same Ave. I know like a similar cluster of luxury brands exist in New York City on Fifth Ave or Madison Ave, but it's not the same. I just love it in Hawaii a lot more. So what's your favorite positive quote? It is, don't bring problems, bring solutions. Might not seem as like uplifting as, you know, this too shall pass or something like that. But that's absolutely a quote that I hold as my mantra and I try to live by. Constantly reminds me to shift into more of a problem solving and solutioning mindset rather than sitting and kind of dwelling on the fact that there is a problem or even trying to introduce more problems to a situation. So that's just a quote that I live by and I most definitely adopt as my like work ethic. Okay, so what makes you smile? Pretty things make me smile, and I don't necessarily mean like all these like luxe goods and things like that either, although a lot of times, you know, I'll look at them and they will give me a good feeling. But these could be pretty things, like it could be something like, you know, how the sun hits the window, how it lays a shadow through like the windowsill. It could be like a beautiful sunset or just waves crashing. Flowers always make me smile, so my boyfriend knows if I'm feeling really down to get flowers because they will always cheer me up. So it's something small like that. Well, it can be something small like that. It can even be something really fleeting if it's just a beautiful moment. Those are the little things that remind me to smile, that there's like so many pretty things in this world to look forward to. Okay, and then the last question was, what are your hobbies? So my hobbies are pretty much across the spectrum. I like making things with my hands, so I love knitting in the colder months. I recently started embroidery, which I also really enjoyed. And I finished a project and I'm like itching to do another project. I also like making these like handmade bead bracelets. I love taking photos and composing photos. I also like getting photographed so that I have content to post on Instagram. I enjoy boxing. I go through cycles of really getting into it and then not getting into it, but I love to travel. And I love trying out new restaurants and new places that open up in the cities. Those are definitely things that I love to do. I love getting inspired by new places, new foods, new things. So those were all the questions that I categorized as personal. Doesn't mean that there are no other personal questions coming up. So there were a number of folks who shared some video ideas or suggestions for video ideas, like can you do A? So these are all really wonderful ideas, so I wanted to share these as well. There were a couple of folks who asked if I could do more of like a 25 facts about me, or you know, some sort of facts about me video, so that you all can get to know me better, and I will absolutely do that. That's a wonderful idea. I mean, this is a Q&A for you to get to know me more as well, but I think this is asking from a more like personal standpoint. Abigail Hortensia asked if I could do a homeware video, and so that is also a great question, and I feel like I got a few questions about homeware, so I will be doing that in the future as well, so stay tuned for that. So there were a couple of people who asked if I could do like a favorite bag from X amount of different fashion houses or X number of favorite bags per fashion house. So I'll do some sort of combination of that, basically sharing, like maybe it'll be like sharing the top 3 from my favorite fashion houses or something like that. But I'll do that as a future video as well. Rabbit Squirrel 755 asked if I can talk about the wear and tear on my most used bags. So I can do that as like a follow-up video as well. I'll add that to the growing list of video ideas. In general though, I like to share like a haul, if you will. So like an initial unboxing or unveiling of a new piece that I add to my collection, and then I will do a what's in my bag and follow-up video. If it's a handbag, it'll be a what's in my bag, but if not, it will be some sort of initial first impressions. And then I like to do an is it worth it video. That's usually a year or 2 after I have the piece in my collection, and I share some more thoughts. That's the is it worth it video is where I will be able to share a lot more about wear and tear because I've had the piece for a longer period of time. But in general, I can do like a video on wear and tear of some of the older pieces that I have in my collection, in case that's helpful for you guys. Ashley Lee asked if I could do a video of styling. She said, due to you having a variety of luxury items like clothes, scarves, bags, shoes, etc., I want to see how you mix and match your items for different purposes. So that's also a really great video suggestion. So I will do that in the future to be more of like a holistic styling kind of video, and hopefully that can give you all better ideas of maybe how you can incorporate some of your accessories with some existing pieces, or incorporate, you know, some of your high-end and contemporary pieces together. Jillian Flores asked, are you planning to do daily vlogs? If it would be nice if you will. I don't think my life is interesting enough to do daily vlogs, but I am definitely trying to incorporate more vlogs in my channel overall. I absolutely will be doing more vlogs. I love sharing different parts of the city and stuff like that. So I am planning on doing that, so please look forward for that as well. And then finally, my friend Bhakti, she asked when I will be doing a video on my Chanel 19. We are bag twins, and so we've already talked about this bag before, and the video actually had gone live. So that's already available if you've been curious about the Chanel 19 and what fits in it and my first impressions. I'll link that video above so you can check it out. So I'm gonna say those are all the video idea questions. I'm going to move on to the collection questions. And so the first question is from Shakina, I believe that's how you pronounce your name. My question is surrounding creating the ultimate luxury collection that is a practical guide for luxury collectors. Therefore, what in your opinion are the top 10 do's and do nots when creating a luxury collection, from perfume to accessories, luggage, shoes, and ready to wear? This is a really great question. It's also a pretty complex question because I don't think there's any, you know, one path or one way to build out a collection. Everyone's approach is going to be a little bit different. Everyone's journey is going to be a bit different. I do have an earlier video where, like an older video, where I shared how to build out a luxury collection. I'll link that above so you can check it out if you're curious. Ultimately, at the core of it, I think it's all about cost per wear and driving that down. So really it's knowing what you're going to get the most use out of. It's knowing whether you're a shoe person or a handbag person. Like for me, I get much more enjoyment out of my handbags than I do out of my shoes. I do like having certain shoes and certain styles, of course, but I know I will be able to wear my handbags in a lot more different ways, with a lot more different outfits and things like that. So as I was building out my collection, I absolutely focused more on the handbags in my collection, and then I started to incorporate some shoes when I could. I like wrote some like key tips that I didn't want to like forget, so here we go. So I would like start with a handbag, then maybe an SLG to use across all of my items, all of my handbag items. Then maybe another handbag or a pair of shoes, and then once that realm is built out, once you feel like you have a really good core set of, you know, shoes, handbags, and accessories that you can use with those pieces, then it could be to approach the ready-to-wear, luggage, and homeware sections of you know, to build out those pieces and that collection as well. Personally, I feel like handbags, SLGs, and shoes are the best place to start. I wouldn't necessarily necessarily buy perfumes from each of the designer houses just to have them. Instead of buying all those perfumes, I would ask for samples for them before, so you can try them out. You can better understand what notes you like, where your preferences lie, and then you'll be able to better like hone in on the types of scents that you like, so that you purchase the ones that you know you're going to wear a lot of. Just know what kinds of things you like and what kinds of things you get a lot of use out of, and then start with those pieces. The next question about collections is from Tashi. This person asks, when or how do you decide to let go of your bag? I'm having a difficult time to let go of my bags, as I always imagine I might come across some rare occasion to use it again. With all the price increases of brands, I would not be able to get the same deal unless I go into the secondhand market. Also, would trend be another factor for you to let go of your collections? This is also a really tough question for me, because I am someone who has a hard time letting go of some pieces. I like holds a lot of like sentimental value onto things, so I also have a really hard time letting things go. I think I'm more ruthless when I come to clothes, because I know like either it's like I don't fit in it anymore, so it's not a question of like do I want to keep it, it's just it's impractical to keep it at that point in time. But when it comes to like my handbags or SLGs and my shoes, things like that, I have a much harder time letting go of those pieces. And I also try to buy where I don't have to, well, I don't think about, you know, oh, it's like it's too trendy and then I can't wear it a couple years down the road. I try to buy pieces that will incorporate well with the other pieces in my collection and mix and match well and things like that. It is rather rare that I will let go of some pieces, but it still happens. And it comes down to the fact, did I use it anytime in the last couple of years? And if the answer is no, then it's absolutely a candidate on the chopping block. And then once it's there, I look at it and I say, is there any other reason? Is there any other sentimental value that's really, really holding it back? I know that's what that purpose is for, and I have to like stop thinking about like, oh, it's a waste of money, it's taking up shelf space. Like, I told myself the sentimental value was worth it, so it's staying. If not, it's like, okay, I haven't used it for a period of time, or it might be when I did use it, you know, there were certain things that didn't work well for my lifestyle or what I was looking for, and I know I'm not really going to reach for it anymore, then I, you know, make the decision to let it go. That's how I come up with the pieces that are on sale on my Instagram. I have like a stories highlights of my closet sales. If anybody's ever interested, you can always check that section out. For the most part, I have a hard time letting go of these pieces too. I know it's hard, so really it's mostly just about, have I used it in the past couple of years? I'm getting to the point where my closet is getting really full. I'm going to have to be a lot more strict with myself. I hope that helped answer your question. I did get a few questions related to budgeting. Hearts Melody 189, this person was like, I would love to hear about how you budget. What I do is I determine the monthly expenses that must be paid. So that's like your rent or mortgage, or your electricity, your phone bills, things like that, internet, you know, all of those bills that need to be paid on a monthly basis. And I establish how much that is per month. I look at all the income that's coming through in a month, and I figure out what is going to be my basically discretionary or dispendable income. There will be a portion of it that goes into savings, and then there will be a portion that I deem as discretionary income. It's really that discretionary income that I use to purchase a lot of these other items. And the thing with like Hermes and Chanel is, once, I mean, even Louis Vuitton, but a lot of their classics, you know, it will still be there. But for like Hermes and Chanel, I realize, you know, when you go in and you see something, you almost have to get it then. You can't think about, oh, I'll come back, you know, and get it, you know, in a few weeks. It likely won't be there unless it's like a black, you know, classic flap. But if it's even if it's some of the accessories, like those tend to be flying off the shelves these days. If it's a classic flap in a particular color, like a seasonal color that came out, like that might not be there, or it's unlikely to be there actually if you go back. So I try to make sure I go to Chanel and Hermes and all these stores like when I have disposable income that I know I can spend, so that I, you know, don't go and then get heartbroken when I see something I want, but I, know I can't really spend the money on it. The next category is going to be wish list, because I got a ton of questions asking what's on my wish list, what's next on my wish list, and things like that. I did make a 2020 wish list video at the very, very end of last year or beginning of this year. So I will reference that video up above as well in case you're curious. I was able to cross off one of those items on my wish list, which was, ta-da, which was another bag from Hermes. So I was able to recently add this piece to my collection, and I very happily crossed this off my wish list. The Chanel 19 bag was also on that wish list that I was able to cross off as well. So I'm making some progress, I have to say. Well, when it comes to my ultimate dream wish list, it's a Hermes Birkin 25 with rose gold hardware. I don't care so much what leather that one is, but I do. That one's just the size, a 25 in black with rose gold hardware is just like my dream. Or a Kelly 25 or Kelly 28 in the Cellier style in the color gold. I don't care what hardware that one is in. I don't really care what leather that one is in either. And the size doesn't matter as much, but I'm just really enamored with that gold color and that in the Kelly style. So those are like the two ultimate Hermes dream bags on my wish list. Coco asked, what is your dream bag? In terms of dream bags, I actually have a number of them already. One was ultimately my Birkin 30 here that I wanted to share because this was an ultimate dream bag of mine, to have a Birkin from the boutique, and this is the first one that I got. The other dream bag is a gray classic Chanel flap, which I also have right here. And so this is in the small size. So this is a small classic flap in the gray color. Ultimate dream to have a gray classic flap. So I was super, super excited when I was able to pick this up. And then of course my Constance that I just showed as well. So those were at each, before I got all of those pieces, those were all a dream bag of mine that I have now in my collection, which I'm absolutely stoked about. So that's why the Birkin 25 and the Kelly those are additional new dream bags that I dream about. Anthea Pan asked, what will be next in your wish list to get? Have you considered Celine box bags? So I'll answer the Celine piece now. I personally have not considered a Celine box bag for my collection. It somewhat resembled a Constance, not that they actually look the same, it's just the more boxy style with the long leather strap. It reminded me of a Constance, and I had the Constance on my wish list already. So I hadn't considered purchasing one for myself. But I do also know that my mom has a vintage Celine bag that looks very similar to the box bag. So if I ever have an itch, I know I can, borrow hers. So I'm moving on to questions about my luxury journey and how it all started for me. I had several questions about this, so I'm kind of lumping them all together to answer how did it all start for me. My actual building out my actual collection started in college, and that's when I would intern and save up money and stuff like that to purchase certain pieces. The first piece that I ever purchased was this Miu Miu kind of, it's like a slouchy bag. I forgot the name of it, but this Miu Miu was the first piece that I ever added to my collection, and I adored this to bits. If you look closely, you'll see it's a little worn, and there's some rubbing on the corners and stuff like that. But this was perfect. It had that top handle and the long strap, and it was absolutely gorgeous. This is what started it all for me to really build out my luxe collection. But I think, I was influenced growing up. My parents are pretty average. They don't work in fashion or design or anything like that. But they always liked to dress themselves well, and they always had an interest in their own fashion. So I think I was influenced growing up with that. Then once I got into college, I started learning more about the like high-end luxury brands. So that's how I started out with Miu Miu. And then the first Chanel piece I ever had was this Half Moon Walk. These are now discontinued, unfortunately, but this is the first piece that I ever got from Chanel that I was super stoked about, and I still love using this piece to this day. The rest is pretty much history now. I just have continued to acquire pieces, add pieces, you know, let go of some pieces that didn't work ever since then. So I'm going to like move on to the category questions around favorites. So the first question here is from X, who asked, if you could only buy from one brand, which brand would it be? And man, that was a really a tough question. Really hard to pick just one brand. If you asked me last year, I would have said Chanel without skipping a beat. But with the recent Chanel price increases, I'm not so sure, to be honest. I'm not so sure that I would, you know, be able to say Chanel without skipping a beat like that. So it's a lot harder for me to like say for sure. If money were no object at all, then I would say Hermes. I love their home, leather goods, accessories, and shoes. I love all of those different categories. Even their millinery, even their hats, right? So I would be able to like build out, fulfill a whole wardrobe, even if I just shopped at Hermes. It's just a question of like how much it would cost, right? The only area I'm not a huge fan of yet is like their ready-to-wear. It might just be because I'm not old enough to really enjoy that, or my aesthetic isn't quite there yet. As a whole, I think Hermes would be a great place to just shop at for the rest of my life if money were no object. Janelle Zippagang asked, if you had to get rid of all your luxury items but one, which one would you keep? And this is such a torture question. This one's like mean almost. I don't want to have to like think about like not having all of my pieces except one. But there's a part of me that really wants to say my Birkin, right? This one right here. But because of the color, I don't think I can really say that. It's not really, if it was neutral, I might be able to say my Birkin and this would satisfy almost all of my needs. But because it is in such a like unique color, I would say, I'm having a hard time actually saying this one. So I think I would have to go with my Chanel Small Classic Flap. It's classic, it's a neutral color, it's very easy to dress up and down, but we all have to pray that that day never comes where I have to only have one bag, because that's just pure torture, guys. That's so mean. Let's see, Woo Carrie asked, which is your favorite bag in your collection? So from a pure just favorite standpoint versus utility, I would say my Birkin 30. Because it makes me smile every time I see it. I love the twillies on it, and I love the color of the bag, so this is definitely my favorite, but it doesn't mean that I use that the most. I got a lot of questions asking like what are my favorite brands, and that would be Chanel and Hermes. Those are definitely the ones that I lean towards the most, but for ready to wear, I'm also really enjoying Fendi, Louis Vuitton, and some Gucci. When it comes to like ready to wear and some accessories, I definitely like the pieces that are coming out from those brands as well. Oh, and Dior men's. But like, you know, if I really had to pick my ultimate favorite, they are Chanel and Hermes. I think this person's name is Eko Moeko asked, do you have a style or fashion icon? This is a really wonderful question. It got me thinking for a long time if I do, and I honestly don't think I have a single fashion icon. I think it's a lot of different looks that ultimately inspire my fashion, my sense of fashion, or what I like. You know, I always find myself kind of broad across the spectrum rather than being very honed in on a particular style. So sometimes I like to be leaning a little bit more on like a girly side, and sometimes I like to be more sporty or more androgynous, more, you know, comfy and dressed up. So it's like a mix of all of those that it's hard, I think, to have like one style icon who embodies all of that. But there are some people on YouTube that I like to follow as well. So like Claire Chanel, I love her sense of style. I love how she always inspires me with a lot of luxe pieces to add to my collection. Sophie Choed is also great practical luxury styling. And then I love Rochelle on YouTube as well. I love her for like the mix of like luxe with some street style. It inspires me in that way. So those are some YouTube folks that I love to follow, I love to get inspiration from. Amanda Hua asked, my question is, what SLG would you choose if you could only choose one? And I think that would have to be my compact Bjorn, my Hermes compact Bjorn. I have a couple of videos on it now. I think every time I talk about that, it reminds me of how useful it is and how helpful it is. Out of all of my SLGs, I mean, that's the only full-size wallet that I have. So I think that kind of says enough that I don't feel like I need another one. That definitely would be the one that I have because it holds everything that I need. All right, so then Petite Luxe Noir also asked, what has been your best luxury purchase so far this year? That's really hard because I've made a number of purchases this year, and I love all of them. But I think I will have to say my Constance, mostly because this was such a dream color and leather combo for me. So this one would have to be like my best purchase this year. I'm taking like so long to answer these questions, so I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit. Sorry, you guys. So I got a really excellent question around after service from S. Do. This person asked, how do you feel about the aftercare service of luxury in general? Do you think there should be a set amount of time where handbags can be repaired for free for defective things? Or should it be a lifetime warranty? Do you also have any tips of what key classic pieces are good investments? So this is a really, really great question. And when it comes to aftercare service for luxury, I feel like it varies. Like I have a horror story with Chanel that like is just terrible. And I still purchase from the brand. I still purchase afterwards, and I stopped dealing with that particular boutique. But like, just because it's Chanel doesn't mean it's going to be great across the board. Just because it's Dior doesn't mean it's going to be great across the board. At the end of the day, what I think really helps is if you have a relationship with your SA. So, I mean, it can be very difficult if, you know, you just started and you just made a purchase. But if you do have that relationship, then you know, your SA is also going to be looking out for you, and they want to make sure that you have a great experience when you shop with them, right? So I've had really wonderful, like smooth experiences with earrings from Chanel that we all know, or the costume jewelry is notorious for the rhinestones to fall out. I had a pair of earrings, so these are pretty old, that the rhinestones fell out. I actually stopped wearing them for almost like a year, if not more. Because the rhinestones, like so many, like 3 or 4 of them fell out, and I just didn't feel like wearing them anymore. And I mentioned it to my SA. This was not the person that I purchased it from either, like, because I didn't know this person until this year, right? But you know, I mentioned it to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, bring them in, and we can send them off for repair." And they just got sent off, and no questions, nothing, was just sent off, repaired, brought back, and they look like brand new. And I've been actually wearing them a lot more because they're like fully back normal, you know, in their full glamour, if you will. So it helps. It definitely helps to have that relationship, to be able to make sure the items get the care, the aftercare that they need. But in terms of like should it be a lifetime warranty, or is there a period of time? Definitely anything that happens in 1 year, I think it should be covered. Like, you shouldn't have to pay for any of that stuff. After a year or so, for like normal wear and tear things, I don't necessarily have an issue getting charged a nominal fee, and I emphasize nominal, okay? Like, if you're gonna charge like some bajillions of dollars to like get something fixed, like at that point you're asking us to like not get it fixed, right? That takes away from it being luxury. Luxury is for you to be able to use and continue to use for a long period of time, and that might mean you have to slightly patch or slightly, you know, take care of it and, you know, send it off to spa or something. But like, it shouldn't be like cost you like the price of a brand new bag for you to like get your existing one taken care of. So I think it should be nominal, and I wouldn't have any problems paying for it afterwards. If I know that they're going to do a good job and it's going to come back and it's going to, you know, inject more life into it, I'd be happy to pay for, you know, slight restoration. Similar to the aftercare service question, I also have another one from Miss Surrey. Do you have any bag purchase regrets? Which shops do you feel have the best, worst customer service? So I'll answer the customer service question first. The best customer service I had was the Chanel Hudson Yards boutique, and sadly they have closed. That was my favorite Chanel to go to. That was the one that felt the most welcoming, the most open, and I thoroughly enjoyed every time I was there. In terms of worst customer service, I would say the Hermes in meatpacking. That one was the worst one. But like, there was just no one paid attention to you, no one looked at you. It was just so unpleasant that I have never been back ever since. I do have a few questions around regrets. So I'll answer this question, the first part of this question that was around regrets, but a few people asked about it. So I hope this all answers everybody's questions. I do have purchase regrets that I've made, and they mostly surround the fact that I purchased something that didn't fit very well. So it was either like shoes that were maybe slightly too big or slightly too small that I convinced myself that they would be fine, or clothes that fit a little too big or a little too small, and I was like, oh, either I'm like, oh, I'll lose some weight, or oh no, I like oversized, and I like convinced myself that it looks fine. Those are the items that I can definitely say that I have regrets. The other thing, buying something because it was on sale. That's something that I realized that I regret down the road. Like I would get all wrapped up in the excitement of getting something on sale that I would buy it, but then it turns out like I don't actually really need it, or I don't really like it, or I don't really need to have that piece in my collection. And so then I end up like not wearing it, and it wasn't even worth the sale price that I paid because I'm not using that piece. Outside of that, I really try not to treat any of my purchase decisions as regrets, only because I don't want, like, I don't know, I don't like to think that I've regretted something. Those were all decisions that I made at that point in time. So those are all learnings that I have now, right? Like, if I didn't purchase it, I wouldn't know this now, that I don't like that kind of style, or that I don't like this kind of leather, or whatever it is. So I consider all of those to be learnings rather than regrets. The next question is from JLB. Hi, Julie. She asked your mistakes, regrets, purchases, and so the next things or categories that you will be focusing on buying because of these regrets. I touched upon regrets a little bit earlier. That's the misfitting clothes and shoes, also items that are on sale that I like don't need, basically, that I'll like get wrapped up and buy. Those are definitely categories of items that I have regrets around, so I know not to purchase those anymore. And I've recently found that because of that, I focus on purchasing more ready-to-wear now, and really making sure those ready-to-wear pieces are wearable pieces that I will wear for a long time. Otherwise, I can't justify that price, you know? And that has also made me realize I have significantly reduced how much I purchase from like high street brands, and makes me a lot more mindful about pieces that I already have in my closet. So that's where I've been shifting a little bit based on my past mistakes and regrets. I don't buy a lot of shoes anymore, especially like high heels. I don't buy them. If I know I have an occasion and I need them, like that's the last pair of heels I know I bought were Manolo Blahniks for, it was for a wedding that was supposed to be earlier this year. So like I bought that, but I haven't bought any other heels because I know I don't wear them that much. Like it's not worth it. And if I buy shoes now, I make sure that they are comfortable and they're going to be pieces that I can wear a lot. I also like homeware in general. I want to fill my home with like beautiful things too. So my general collection has the focus has shifted to ready to wear and homeware right now. I think because I'm spending a lot of time at home, I want pieces that I'm going to enjoy in the home, and then comfy clothes that I'm going to enjoy at home. Stellar Look asked me about storage. So how do you store all of your handbags? Do you have it on display or leave it in the dust bags or boxes? I do have a storage tips video, so I will share that as well. I'm not just trying to plug all the stuff, but it's just because I feel like those videos go into a lot more depth to answer the question better than what my 5 seconds is going to do right now. I do a mix of on display and in dust bags, because of the tiny closet space that I have. I had some brand specific questions come through as well. So Van Luna 75 asked, I would like to know what would you recommend as a second Chanel bag? I have some SLGs and a Chanel walk. Would you pick mini classic flap or mini Coco handle? Open to any other suggestions as well. Based on the pieces that you already have, my recommendation just off the bat would be the mini classic flap. I think it's a more classic and versatile piece for you to have versus the Coco handle. And sometimes there can be some seasonal pieces that really catch your eye, but if you're really starting to build out your core classic collection, then I think the classic mini flap is going to be the better option for you. And then even if you were ever to consider selling that piece, you would likely get a little bit more for your classic mini flap than the Coco handle. Next question, Little Serenity asked, I would really love it if you explored Coach's 1941 collection. It's their luxe line and they have an amazing quality for the price. Have you had a chance to look at retail Coach lately? And if not, would you consider exploring the brand? This is a wonderful question. I honestly have not really checked out Coach that much. I have, like in passing, seen that their brand has evolved since the monogram canvas phase of its life. And I feel like they've kind of gone back to some more of their kind of roots and have been bringing a lot more of that like saddle leather back, which is really great to look at. But I haven't spent that much time really looking into it, so this is a great suggestion. I will pay more attention to it, and then who knows, maybe I will pick something up. B. Carpenter asked, do you have any Cartier you plan on reviewing? I only own one piece of Cartier right now. That's this watch right here. So if you would like me to do a review on this Cartier piece, then let me know in the comments down below, or DM me or whatever. Just let me know and I'd be happy to do a review on it. I did have the Cartier Love necklace on my wish list for 2020. But I recently got this Chanel Coco Crush instead, so I think that might happen a little bit later down the road. And I don't have any other Cartier pieces, but if you're interested, I can do a review on this watch. I have a few Hermes related questions. So Lux Lover CC asked, just wondering what you think about the color Taupe and the Hermes Evelyn Mini. When I did my unboxing of this Constance right here, this is an Attain. I shared some of my thoughts on a taupe. Personally, I prefer Attain over a taupe. In my eyes, Attain is a little bit more cool tone and a taupe is more warm tone. Like Attain is still like a mushroomy gray, but it leans a little bit more like gray with some like blackish undertones, while a taupe will lean more brown. I do love the contrast stitching on a taupe. I love that it's like white contrast stitching. It's just, I die for it. I wish the Attain was like that too. But generally speaking, with the other colors in my wardrobe, I find Attain to work better for me. I love the Evelyn Mini. I know that's like a highly coveted item as well in that TPM size. I personally prefer the Vespa TPM more. I'm more of a Vespa fan than I am of the Evelyn fan. That's why I don't have any Evelyns in my collection. But there's nothing wrong with the Evelyn Mini. I think it's a really cute size. And if you can get it in like a pop of color, I think it's absolutely adorable. I do love that the straps are detachable on the Evelyn Mini. They're not detachable on the Vespa. All right, KL Morris, 27, asked, do you wear your Hermes Birkin as an everyday bag or do you save it for special adventures or outings, and why? I consider my Birkin to be an everyday bag. So that's this baby right here. I consider this to be an everyday bag. I don't save it for special occasions. Like that's kind of my mom's mentality, which drives me nuts. She's always like, even when I like want to buy her a nice bag or something, she's just like, where am I going to carry it? Like, I don't have anywhere to go with it. And I'm like, you go to the grocery store if you want to carry it to the grocery store. Like, who cares? So that's much more my mom's mentality is like, it's a special bag, so she saves it for special occasions. My mentality is it's my bag, so I carry it wherever I want to. I still like to dress according to the occasion and the place that I'm going to. So like if I'm going, let's say to like a baseball game or something, like I'm not necessarily, this is not my first choice to take with me. You see what I mean? So I still try to make sensible choices around what I wear and what I carry to make sure that I'm comfortable and like safe in terms of like footwear, like I'm safe wherever I'm going. But I don't save this, I don't baby this as like, oh, I can only take it out to like special dinners and fancy events. No, I will carry this wherever, anywhere. Sha-sut, I think that's how to pronounce that, asked your recommendations on other non-popular Hermes bags for everyday use. I will consider the Birkin Kelly Constance to all be popular bags in this context. I will also consider the Garden Party, the Picotines, and the Evelyns to be popular bags in this context. So excluding all of those, what other bags come to mind? The jumping bag comes to mind. This is one that I tried on earlier this year. It's the one that got away. I had a whole video on like bags that got away. That bag seems really just comfortable. It's a messenger style. It's like a half moon, like a watermelon wedge shape. And it was really playful with the colors that it incorporated. So I think that's a really, really comfortable bag. Especially in this day and age, if you want to make sure your hands free, I think that would be a wonderful bag. Like the Roulis is also very popular because it resembles the Constance. And it's very understated as well. I think that's a beautiful bag too, if you're able to get your hands on one and you like the Constance silhouette, then I think that would be a great bag for you as well. Outside of those, honestly, I haven't looked too much into the other Hermes handbags, and that's mostly because their price points are pretty high. The Gypsier, like the Lindy's, those are all cost a pretty penny as well. And they're, you know, it's like you add a little bit more than you'd get to Birkin Kelly Constance price, right? So I'm not at that point in my collection where I, you know, have the funds available to do that. So I haven't looked too much into the other bags outside of the jumping bag or the Roulis. So I think this name is pronounced Heloise. So if I said that incorrectly, please correct me in the comments down below. I'm so sorry. This person asked, what is your favorite Hermes carré size? I'm looking to buy one for myself. I don't have the most extensive carré collection by any means. I have like pocket squares that I use as like some decorative items. And then I have the pretty standard size. Maybe it's like 30 inches. That's the silk size, but I use that, like that's for a piece that's framed and up on the wall. So I don't use that for every day. And then the actual scarf that I have is the massive jumbo, I think those are like 90 inches, 96 inches or something like that. The cashmere silk blends. So, so far that's more like the stole style, right? Because it's a lot bigger. Out of all the sizes that I have, that stole is my favorite because it's the most versatile. And when I'm cold in the office, like I used to just drape it around me like a blanket. So it's absolutely beautiful for that. And I feel like because it has a longer length, you have a lot of different ways you can style it. So that's what I like about that size and that piece. All right, Mistletoe 15, we finally got to your question. You asked, how are you enjoying your Constance while at home? LOL. I'd love to hear more thoughts about the bag, if you've worn it out or around the house, and how you plan to deal with the handle that sticks up. So I actually have taken the Constance out a handful of times already, and I have actually enjoyed it a lot. It is a larger bag in my collection because I do have so many mini bags. I'm loving the size. It's like really comfortable on the shoulders. Admittedly, I'm not able to enjoy it as much as I would have in like pre-pandemic world, but I still have been able to take it out a little bit, and I really, really have enjoyed it. I am planning on doing a what's in my bag and first impressions video soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll share a lot more detail in that video. In terms of how am I planning to deal with those handles that stick up, I'm actually struggling with that. So if anybody has any good tips on how to store your Constance, because the handles stick up, I'm not quite sure what to do. I've seen some people pull it flat like this, and then they'll let the bag kind of sit like this in their closet. I think there's some people who pull it all the way to one side and let it sit. I am actually honestly struggling to figure out the best way to store it. So far I've just been kind of storing it with the handles up like this, but that's not really my favorite. It also kind of takes up more space doing it that way. So if you do have any good tips, please let me know in the comments down below, or you can DM me on Instagram. I would love to get some insight from anybody who's kind of mastered the Constance strap problem. Ling Zhu also asked, what's your favorite Hermes leather and color? I think my favorite Hermes leather has to be Cadillac leather. That is the leather that's on my Hermes Bjorn. I have very recently done like a leather comparison video, so you can see a lot more like beautiful close-ups of the leather in that video, so I'll link that up above for you to check out. I think that has to be my favorite leather. Every time I look at it, the sheen just gets me every single time. Just that sheen is so beautiful. My favorite Hermes color, this is really difficult. I think it would be much easier to share a favorite color based on like color family, but so like my favorite blue, my favorite pink, and all of that. But my ultimate favorite color, I think, has to be Attain. I just love gray and the nuance of it, and I feel like it looks so good against the majority of outfits that you can match it with. So I would say Attain is my favorite Hermes color. Megan Donahue asked, what is your favorite trend for fall? I am not somebody who really follows a lot of trends necessarily. But I'm sure to a certain degree I'll subconsciously be influenced by it a little bit. But when it comes to fall in general though, I absolutely hands down love boots and I love blazers. So I love when it comes to fall that it's the general season where I can bust out my boots and my blazers. So I'm super, super looking forward to wearing my boots and my blazers. And that's like the never-ending fall trend, right? Like that will never die. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Ashley W asked, how often do you switch out your bags? Are you one to wear a different bag on the daily to match your look for the day? Yes, I do switch out my bags based on my look. I am that person who will restuff my bag at the end of the day. I'll empty out the contents of the bag that day, I'll put them aside, restuff my bag, and then I will pull the new bag the next day depending on my outfit. KN asked, how does your personal style influence your purchases? Which stores and countries do you feel have better customer service? At the end of the day, I'm a pretty like instinctive person. A lot of times I'll see something and I'll know I'll like it, and I'll get that feeling that I know I'll like it, and I'll play off of that a lot of the time. So in general, I think Asia has better customer service overall, across the board. That's outside of luxury, that's in any kind of store that you go into. Like I go to Korea a lot, and I know for a fact that any store that you go to, Korean customer service is going to be much better than your average customer service here, hands down. Because it applies at the convenience store, it applies at like the hole-in-the-wall restaurant, you know what I mean? Like it's consistent that way. A lot of times like you'll get that level of customer service when you are in a higher end place in the States, right? So just across the board, I feel like it's better in Asia. But because I live in the US, in terms of like stores and like that customer service, I really try to find the stores and the essays that encourage that kind of experience for me to make it enjoyable and joyful for me and for them. So I will seek out the people that cultivate that kind of experience for me, and if not, I will not shop with them. I'll just go somewhere else. Rochelle here on YouTube. She asked me a few questions as well. She said, if you made a tag video, what would you do it on? Girl, I already made a tag video. It's called the Ugly Lux tag. I made this, I want to say sometime last year. So if any of you want to do that tag, definitely check it out and let me know. I would love to hear what items you pick for that tag. What YouTuber and or IGer would you like to meet and why? You, Rochelle. I would love to meet you, girl. 1, because you're awesome, and 2, because you live in Hawaii, which is like my favorite place. And 3, Millie would be an awesome bonus as well. So yeah, you're definitely on that list. Top 3 fashion places to shop at. I am going to go with like online retailers, so I'd say like Net-a-Porter, Farfetch, and Matches Fashion. Those are my favorite for shopping online and having a broad spectrum and a lot of inventory that's available. The last question Rochelle asked, a recipe to share. That's a very interesting question. I have a shrimp crostini recipe. I will leave it in the description box because if I shared the whole recipe right now, we would be here for another 5 hours. But I'll leave it down below, so definitely check it out. I think it's like the combination of like the chili shrimp with the guac that makes it a party pleaser because it's done very well at all the parties that I bring it to. So that's why I'm going to share it. It's not very difficult to make. I am no 5-star chef over here, so and then trust me, it's pretty easy to make and it's a party pleaser. So check the description for that one. I know this is a really long video, but thanks for bearing with me. You all asked really good questions, so like it's all because of you guys that this video is really long. I know I mentioned that I'll do a lot of these follow-up videos. There were a lot of video ideas for me to do as well, so I've added all of those to the list of videos that I need to be doing. So stay tuned for those pieces. They will be coming up through the next couple of months. If you had a question and you feel like I didn't answer it properly or you need some more detail, feel free to ask follow-up questions in the comments down below. I'm totally happy to continue answering those questions. But I really enjoyed answering all of your questions. I really appreciate everybody who took the time to ask me a question. I hope I was able to answer them for you. Again, this all really stemmed out of initiating like a big thank you to everybody who has joined this community. So I want to take another moment to really say thank you to all of you who watch, comment, subscribe, like my videos and everything like that. It all started with a little dream, a little desire to build a community around people who like to talk about these kinds of things. So I really appreciate every one of you who reaches out to me or talks to me and all of that. So thank you very much. If you have any other questions, of course, feel free to leave them down below or head on over to Instagram and I'd be happy to help however I can. If you like this kind of video and you found it entertaining, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate all of your feedback and support. If you like this kind of content and you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I post new fashion-related videos every Sunday and Wednesday. So until next time, bye!